Uber, Lyft. Who the heck even needs a driver's license anymore? Welcome to Truth on Tilt. Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Truth on Tilt. I am very lucky today. I have a good buddy of mine, Paul, who's been Uber driver for how long now?
9 years and about 8 months.
But who's counting?
Yeah, right.
9 years and 8 months.
Yes.
Okay, so Paul, what got you into rideshare?
Okay. Well, basically, like most people, the basic need, I work another job, but it doesn't provide enough income for me. So I did Uber and Lyft as a side income to make extra money. And one thing, what's really cool is I can make the hours I need to work whenever I want to work, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening.
So what's one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to being a rideshare driver?
You're throwing me off, but I like the question. Okay, so you can work whenever you want to work, okay? And you're not tied to a boss. So you are your own boss. So you have to work the hours that you want to work, not what, Uber or Lyft. They don't tell you when to work, which is cool. The misconceptions, I have to think about that, Gersh. Misconceptions. That you're going to get rich being an Uber driver and a Lyft driver? No, but you'll be able to pay your bills.
Yeah, because we're going to go over that.
Okay.
We're going to go down the finances, the economics, and all that stuff.
Awesome.
But are there things you wish you knew before you started?
Yeah. The actual cost of being an Uber driver. People don't even think about that. You got your car payment. You have to pay for gas. You got to pay for insurance. Not to mention, what happens if you get in an accident? Did you know that Uber and Lyft charge a $2,500 deductible, and that's not covered by your own insurance? Your own insurance is for you if you get in an accident on the way to a ride to pick someone up. But once Uber's insurance kicks in, that doesn't happen until you pick up the rider. And then at that point, if you do get in an accident and it's your fault, you have to come out of pocket $2,500 just for the deductible to get your car fixed.
And what about the liability? If you heaven forbid, that's like always as a father, my biggest fear of an Uber is that when my kids use it, that something happens. Do you have to, because let's say you're using Geico, right?
Yes.
Is there a specific different policy you need to get in order to drive that car and to be covered as an Uber driver?
Yes, you have your regular insurance, but I believe it's $50,000, $100,000 coverage you have to have as an Uber or Lyft driver. But also there's a rideshare policy, that you have to have with that to cover you. But something people don't know, if you get in a major accident and you get injured in any way, Uber and Lyft have a $1 million life insurance. Well, not life insurance, but a policy on you for injury. So if you get in a bad accident, you definitely lawyer up, and you need to fight with Uber and Lyft on that.
Did you ever think, hey, maybe I should get my own umbrella policy as well to cover your butt? Because you can get up to $3 million pretty cheap.
I didn't, Gersh, but I think that's a really good point because you're better off having more, especially if you get in a car wreck and you ruin someone's car that's a really nice car. Well, you don't have enough coverage, but higher insurance deductibles higher insurance would be better for you. You're right. I agree.
So let's talk really quick.
Yeah.
What does the paycheck really look like at the end of the day?
Okay. So you can assume if you drive 5 hours, you'll make $100. On average, as an Uber or Lyft driver, you'll make $20 an hour. But once again, are you really making $20 an hour? I don't think so. Because you got to take into account your gas, the insurance you pay, maintenance, wear, tear, all that comes into account when you're driving. So a lot of people don't think about that. So are you really making about $20 an hour or even $22 an hour? By the way, I need to mention that they do have Prop 22 incentives where you're not an employee, but you're an independent contractor, but you're also known as.
We're going to get in that. We're going to get into that too.
Gotcha.
We're going to get into that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, getting back to the paycheck. So, I mean, basically you get, let's say you get $100 for a ride, right?
For 5 hours.
For 5 hours.
Yeah.
So
about 20 an hour is what
20 an hour. So you get paid as a 1099 employee.
Correct.
You do so immediately. If you're paid about like 1099, 50%'s gone right to the government.
I don't know about 50%.
Well, between federal and state.
Well, you got a lot of tax write-offs being an Uber and a Lyft driver. You know, you get a write off your miles.
What tax write-offs do you have?
Oh, mileage. It's around 64 cents a mile. Yeah, no, the incentives of being a driver, you're your own boss, and you know you're an independent contractor. Yeah, you get a write off your wear, tear, mileage, insurance. You know, anything. You'd have to see your tax accountant on that one. Anybody but yeah, at the end of the day, all the money you make, you're going to get 1099 on the end of the year. But it should be a wash if you have a good tax accountant at the end of the year.
When you look at what California is trying to do now, they're trying to tax us by the mile.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, you know, because California realized, hey, we're going to push everyone into electric cars, and all of a sudden we don't get the gas tax. So now they're trying to push to put a chip in electric cars so they can charge per mile. And I think it's slowly going to, hey, we're going to charge everyone per mile or tax everyone per mile.
Okay.
How would that look for an Uber driver?
I think it'd be horrible. That's unfair. It's just taking more money out of your pocket. It's hard enough being a driver with all the complexities of what's on the road, what's going on. The other thing about electric, there are some pros and cons to electric, but the pro on electric, yeah, it's cheaper than gas right now, which is great. You know, I have family that's actually driving Uber and Lyft, and they actually have an electric car, and they actually save more money through using electric. Like a full charge for their car is about $17. That's about 320 miles. Versus if you did with gas, it's going to be almost $50, $60, $70 to fill up your whole tank.
You know, and the crazy thing is, like, recently when I used Uber, it was cheaper for me to hail a green car versus an Uber XL.
Oh, that's interesting to me. Okay, because I order Uber and Lyft once in a while, you know, for myself as needed. But that's a good point. But see, then that's kind of unfair to the driver because if you're paying less, he's making less, I think.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. Do you think Uber is taking into account that electric's cheaper than gas out here in California, or do you think they're trying to push more green cars in because they're trying to compete with those companies that have the autonomous electric cars now,
right?
That are going to replace you?
Well,
because robots are going to take over Uber drivers pretty soon.
Yeah, there's already got Waymo, right? They're in LA, but you got to keep in mind there are statistics that. Is it the safest way to go? You know, there has been some accidents with with Waymos, and there's been with like Teslas without, you know, that's why they have the driver needs to drive. But yeah, they're getting it down.
Well, I'm going to push back at you because autonomous driving cars getting into accidents is few and far between compared to human error.
Correct. But it only takes one or two, and that totally throws that concept on.
Yeah, but that's the problem. The problem is then you're dealing with modern media, right? They're spinning it. Oh, the robot car driver hit somebody.
Right.
Well, asshole, in the last hour, do you know how many human accidents have occurred, especially here in California?
That's true.
We're talking about one accident versus what, 10, 15 an hour?
True.
So, I mean, it's awful. So, being an Uber driver here in California, I have been dying to ask.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you deal with the traffic of Southern California?
Funny thing you say that. Stay away from LA.
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense anymore. You know, back in the day, Gersh, we used to make about $40, $50, $60 to go to LAX from, you know, Huntington Beach. Newport Beach.
Well, they charge me on my app. It's now $100.
Okay.
To get to LAX.
Do you know how much we make as an Uber driver or Lyft driver?
That's what I asked you before. What does your actual paycheck say?
About $30 for that ride to LAX. Maybe $40 at the most. Depends on how much they charge you.
Now, let's say you're driving to LAX from Orange County.
Yes.
That could take, if you go Sunday at 4 a.m, take you 35 minutes.
Yeah, that's a simple
drive. Easy drive. Yeah. Let's say it's Thursday at 4:30 p.m. There's an upcharge.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't include, I mean, that drive could be 4.5 hours.
It can get pretty gnarly going to LA sometimes, yeah.
Do you get more money the longer someone sits in your car, or is it a flat rate?
That's the funny thing. They changed that back in the day. No, you say you don't get paid extra for that time you're waiting. Now they are paying you for that time, but I'm telling you, it's not worth your time. You're better off if your car's moving and you get to your destination. They don't pay you well enough to sit. Like, I want to use a quick example. Go into a drive-through restaurant. What a waste of the driver's time. Yeah, good for the person getting to...
Especially if it's in and out, right?
Yeah. You know how long I got stuck in that line before, and don't get me wrong, in and out, great burgers, But the thing is, people... Oh, by the way, that smell of the food for the Uber driver, do you know that food from In-N-Out Burger, even though it's good food, it lingers in your car for the next people that get in, the next people? And, this kind of, to me, is unprofessional. Your car smells like hamburgers.
Onions.
Yeah, whatever it smells like.
Chinese.
Good food.
Indian food.
This is true of all those places if people bring food in your car. But the thing is you're not valuing the Uber driver or Lyft driver's time when you go through these places. Hey, let them drop you off and then take another ride. But no, people have their agenda. But if you were to tip the driver, that would ease the pain for the time that he's not really getting extra money for.
So when it comes to tipping.
Yes.
Should we cash tip or should we tip on the Uber app?
Well, cash is king. Yeah, a lot of people prefer cash because it's not, reportable. But in regards to tipping on the app, that's fine too. It's just nice. It's really nice when people do tip to show their value and their appreciation.
How much of that tip do you get?
We get the full tip. If it's $1, $2, $3, $5, or even as high as $20, which we would really like those $20 tips if they want to tip that much. But that's for the people that totally get it. But in regards to tipping, yeah, we get the whole amount. Uber or Lyft does not take that. And I don't know where anybody got that idea that they actually take your tips from you. No, we get that.
But you get taxed on that tip.
Of course. Anything that we make is going to be a 1099 at the end of the year. Correct.
So if you made the $100 ride and then they tip you $20, yeah, right, on the app, so you're going to be taxed on the $120.
If it's on the app. Or if it was cash, obviously no one sees the cash.
Well, it's your American duty to pay taxes on your cash tips, Paul. What are you talking about?
Now that's funny to me. I don't even know how to answer that one. We work too hard for little money.
Yeah. So you mean in general? I don't care what people do. I think especially in California, we work way too fucking hard.
Yes.
For what we actually get taxed on and actually get in return for our taxes.
Absolutely. It's crazy. Anyone that moves to California or lives in California knows most of your income is going towards rent or to a mortgage.
Or gas.
Or gas, yeah. Gas prices are ridiculous.
Utilities, all those things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's very expensive to live here in California.
So are you looking at this rideshare job as disposable income or long-term investment? This is your career.
I'm actually presently not doing it right now because they're not making an incentive for me to drive for them right now. Unless look, Uber, you hook me up with an electric car. If they actually got me an electric car, then I can go charge up at an electric station that they are paying for, then it's worth my time. To be honest with you, because it doesn't make sense. If you're going to go work for $20 an hour, but you're not really making $20 an hour, you're making like 15, 16, 17 after your gas, wear, tear, insurance, maintenance and stuff. That's where I'm upset. Now, I'm not only advocating for myself in the future if I ever do drive Uber and Lyft again, but for all the drivers, Lyft and Uber. They should, on average, paying $30 an hour is what the average should be. And if you take away the tax, insurance, maintenance, probably making about 25, maybe 23 an hour, realistically. That's fair for Uber and Lyft to do that for their drivers. But they obviously are in business to make a profit, and they're thinking about themselves. And
Are you comfortable to explain the difference then between what cab drivers make versus Uber drivers? Because the beauty is that if you drive a cab, you work for somebody.
Correct.
If you drive for Uber, quote unquote, you're an independent contractor, but we'll get into that. How much do cab drivers make?
You know what? I don't know how to answer that because I know back in the day when Uber and Lyft weren't really a thing, cab drivers were making a lot of money.
Because they're unionized.
Yes, and because there really was no other options. But nowadays, I don't know if cab drivers make that much anymore anyways. But the cool thing is they're not using their, it's whether it's their car or they're not. I don't believe they're using their car. It's a company car, and the company covers them. So I don't know. It might be better to be a cab driver,
Yeah, because when you talk about Uber buying you that electric car and then you're charging up at their electric stations, then you all of a sudden become an employee.
There is some truth to that. There is some truth to that.
And then Uber has to pay for your workman's comp insurance. Then Uber has to pay for your payroll taxes. Then Uber has to pay for all those other things. So I think it kind of blows up their model. I'm just spitballing off the top of my head.
Sure.
I'm not, obviously I don't know the ins and outs of all that, but that's kind of the model they have set up now, is that even though you are an independent contractor,
right,
you still work for Uber. But Uber can avoid paying all those other fees, especially workman's comp and payroll tax.
And it makes sense as a business owner. I get that. You know what I mean? They're saving money by not paying those expenses. It's more expensive to them and more risky for them for us to be employees versus independent contractors.
I heard along the line somewhere, it might have been a rumor, it might have been bullshit, internet stuff. Are Uber drivers going to unionize, do you think?
I don't know about that, to be honest, Gersh. I don't know what they're...
Did you ever hear about that?
No, I did not.
You didn't?
I didn't look into that.
Would that be something you would be interested in, to push for better wage percentages?
Of course. What's in the best interest of the drivers? What's in the best interest of not only the drivers, the riders, and Uber? We're all in this to win, right? Let's make it a win-win. Why are the riders are paying more. The drivers are getting less. Back in the day, it was the riders, the drivers were making more, and the riders weren't paying as much, and that was great. But that's when Uber and Lyft were just getting going. When you could really make good money as an Uber and Lyft driver, about $30 to $40 an hour, not counting the bonus incentives that they gave you.
What do people need to know about the airport rules when it comes to rideshare?
Yeah. In regards to, if you're going to LAX, you do have to have a placard in your window for that ride to LAX, and pick up, drop off, whatever, and that's something you get through the Uber app. Not at Orange County, not at John Wayne, in Santa Ana. You don't need that placard, but you do need it for LAX.
But in general, don't most airports have special rules and restrictions for rideshare? Like in LAX, your rideshare lot is literally parking lot D, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Yeah, you have to go to this little area, and that's where you wait. It's off site, and you wait in that area until your number's called. You're in a line of, and it's on your app. It says like your number 50th or 30th or 20th in line. But it goes pretty quick because LAX has a lot of demand.
Is there some social media platform that all the Uber drivers get on and talk about issues that they're having at certain areas of the country, or certain areas like certain airports or sports venues or anything, and how to get around them?
There might be certain things out there. To be honest, I've seen certain guys speak. I forget the name of it. I wish I did my homework before I got here because I didn't know you asked that question. But there are people that do speak, and there are some people on YouTube clips. But as far as is someone really telling you the straight, honest truth about what's really going on behind the scenes, not many people, I think, share exactly. I mean, I got some really good content for you today.
I'm excited. I'm ready for it, because I have my basic questions that I want to get through, because there's things that have been hitting me.
Yeah.
But if there's anything you want to start throwing in, please go ahead, because I'm looking at this episode as not only why or why not you should drive rideshare, because I can tell you right now there are a lot of children, teenagers that don't get their license anymore because of Uber.
Right.
There are a lot of senior citizens that are benefiting from the idea of rideshare because they shouldn't be driving either. Right. Oh. not saying they did, but there's a lot of things as well. I'm asking as a consumer, and I'm asking as a father, I'm asking as a business owner. There's a lot of things that are on my mind that I've always wondered about. Right. So if there's anything else, please interject with whatever you have.
Okay.
And we can add it to the conversation for sure.
I want to tell you this right now. Yes. So if you are going to become an Uber or Lyft driver, they will do a background check on you. And I'm not sure how they select their drivers, but I know that everybody that does become an Uber or Lyft driver, they will do an extensive background check for you to drive for them. The coolest thing about being an Uber driver, okay, these are the pros. This is the positives, okay? You get to be your own boss. Work the own hours you want to work. The other thing is you can make money every day. But you can work up to 12 hours on a shift. After that, you have to cut off for, I believe, 6 to 8 hours.
Okay, hold there.
Yeah.
Can you do 12 hours for Uber, then 12 hours for Lyft?
Actually, technically, you could. I don't know if they would like that, but, yeah, if you did 12 hours on Uber and then you go on the Lyft app, but probably not wise because you do need your rest. It's not smart to drive more than 12 hours at a time. I'm not going to tell truckers that because truckers drive more than that, but
they do.
At the end of the day is, you want to be smart and wise. If you're tired and you're on the road, think about your health and the health of your passengers.
Well, especially here in Southern California, 12 hours of driving in Southern California traffic. I mean, that's like, the mental toll.
Oh, yeah.
The mental exhaustion.
I'm glad you brought that up, Gersh. People don't realize it takes a lot out of you. It takes brain power. It takes a lot of things and you have to be very safe, careful on the road. You're protecting yourself and you're protecting your passengers. That takes a lot of energy, mental energy. So after about 6 to 8 hours, I'm pretty much done. I'm not really going to push myself beyond that. That's my own, but I'm an older guy too. Maybe the younger guys can go longer than I could, but 6 to 8 hours is about it.
What's the most hours you've driven in a week and what was your paycheck?
The most of it, I have to think about that. Probably about almost 35. And best paycheck in a week was about $1,500. Yeah.
And how many miles did you put on your car?
A lot. I couldn't even tell you how many. But yeah, let me I want to share something with you. When I had a nice SUV car, okay. And
was it black?
It was gray.
Does it consider it a black, or does the car have to be black to be black?
Yeah, exactly. No, it didn't qualify for the upgrade. You know what I'm saying? This was a Hyundai, and it was a good car till it got in an accident. Not my fault. During Uber, but the bottom line is, I was paying $550 a month for the car, another $150 a month for the insurance, and between $500 and $600 a month for the gas.
So your out of pocket's $1,300 before you even start the car.
Correct.
Hard cost.
Oh, well, when I'm driving the gas that it costs me to do Uber or Lyft. So if I putting out $1,300, but I'm only making $2,000 to $2,500, working part time, full time, you're working hard just to pay for the car, and the math doesn't make sense to me like it used to.
Well, then, have you ever owned your own business? Because that's how it is as well. Because when you own your own business, guess what? You're the last one to get paid.
Right.
Your employees get paid. The government gets paid.
Sure.
The utilities get paid. The insurance gets paid. The rent gets paid.
Oh, you're right.
So whatever's left in the cookie jar at the end is what you get to bring home.
Yeah.
And let's even throw in, what if you have a business loan?
Right.
That gets paid.
Right.
Credit cards get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Then what's left in the cookie jar is yours.
I will mention this. Back when I first started many years ago, making on average 30 up to 40 an hour based on, the what do they have that surge pricing. They charge you guys a lot more.
I always feel like there's surge pricing now 24 hours a day in Southern California.
Not as crazy as it used to be back then. Today it's not as bad, but they are charging a lot more now. Back then seemed like it was more fair rates. Yeah, so like I said, Gersh, they're charging you, the riders more, and the drivers are getting less. Not like back in the day,
What went down a couple years ago with Uber? Like there was a lot of stuff going to, like, the drivers were not happy. I don't want to say there was a strike, but a lot of people were falling off the platform like, this is a bunch of crap. I don't want to deal with this. What was Uber trying to do then?
I think they lowered their commission to the drivers is what was happening. Drivers are making less. We used to make pretty good money back in the day, but then over time, it went from 80-20 split. 80% goes to us, 20% to Uber, which was awesome back then. Then it went to 70-30, 75-25, 70-30, 60-40. You're lucky if it's 55-60% for them and 40% for you, 60-40 in their favor now.
But how does that make any sense? You're taking the risk. You have all the hard costs. You have everything. Mm-hmm. You're putting, and I don't want to make this sound horrific, but every time you pick up a passenger, you're putting your life at risk because you don't know what that passenger is
Absolutely. You don't know what they're on drugs. You don't know if they're, you don't know anything about.
You don't know if they're hammered. You don't know if they just ate some bad sushi and they're going to lose their stomach contents all over the back seat of your car.
That's why I stopped driving late night. I've had over 3 people throw up in my car as an Uber driver, Lyft driver, and I've had probably 7 or 8 outside my car. When you work the late night hours, that's the risk you take as an Uber driver. Obviously, people are going to have fun on the weekends, and they're going to get drunk, and they're counting on you to get there safe, which is awesome. I really advocate for drivers getting drunk drivers off the road. This is a need, and it's a good thing, and I praise people for doing the right thing by not driving drunk and getting an Uber or Lyft. But please be responsible. If you're not feeling, drivers, make sure you have a doggy bag or something.
A trash can.
A trash can, something to protect your car and protects the client because it's very expensive. Like it was $150 or $200 if they throw up in your car.
But that doesn't even cover the cost of a full detail out here.
Exactly. And the smell, you can't get that smell out. It takes a while, and it's not worth it. If you're going to drive the late at night hours, just know, be prepared, have that doggy bag, have a bucket, have things, and try to monitor your clients too to see how drunk they are.
Well, I'm happy you did bring up the driving under the influence.
Yeah.
There is absolutely zero excuse anymore
100%
to get behind a wheel once you're intoxicated.
Yes, correct.
I understand it's the human ego. Oh, I don't want to come get my car in the morning. I'm fine. I'm okay. Do you know on average, the cost of a DUI, there's just getting pulled over without bodily harm or anything, just getting pulled over by a cop? Do you know how much that is out of pocket?
$10,000 or more for a DUI. Yeah, $10,000.
And that's post-tax dollars. That's not $10,000 off the top. That's $10,000 that's in your bank account. It's not tax deductible. Plus your insurance costs are through the roof for 5-7 years afterwards.
Not to mention, if you get in an accident and you're drunk and you kill someone, you're going to jail for 25 years. It's not worth it. Why would people? And for you people that live in Newport Beach and Huntington Beach or in affluent areas, and you have a lot of money and you're driving drunk, you're a complete asshole and idiot, because you're not thinking of your own self. You're not thinking of your family. You're not thinking about the people on the road. You got plenty of money. If you have money, that's a different story.
But even then, if you don't have money, why are you risking that $10,000 bill minimum?
Yeah.
But I even get what really makes me scratch my head are the Hollywood elitists, the professional athletes.
Exactly.
They obviously have, I'm not saying all of them, because there are a lot that are just great people.
Absolutely.
But a lot of them have that I'm greater than you ego, and I can get away with it.
Yeah. Hey, one thing, my favorite quote you'll love, and you'll love this too. Your ego is not your amigo.
You should put that on your business card.
I agree.
Your Uber business card,
your
right?
Your ego is not your amigo.
Yeah. So what were some of the cons you had down there?
I'm sorry, some of the what?
Cons. You had all your pros.
No. And here's some of the other pros too. You're keeping drunk drivers off the road, helping people get to work, to connect to work, because people need to get to work and they might not have a car. And also you get to connect, they might want to connect with their family and friends because they didn't have a car, right? So they can do that. If you have an Uber driver or Lyft driver get you. If you own an electric car, you will save money versus gas. Plus, right now, Uber and Lyft are having driver bonus incentives if you drive an electric car. I believe my family member said for 80 rides, it gets an extra $150, which it adds up, with an electric car.
But to do 80 rides, how many times do you have to sit at that charger for 30 to 40 minutes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I just know that when he does charge up, it's about $17 with his Tesla car, and it goes about 300 miles, 320. The coolest thing, if you're a driver or of Uber or Lyft, if you need to take a break, use the restroom, or go get something to eat, or you need to rest because you're tired, turn off the app. It's just that simple. You're not bound to the app because you're the boss. You get to work on your own terms and schedule. Let me say, make sure you log your miles and keep good records of any receipts or any maintenance you do to your car.
Well, that's important for all,
Yeah.
but anybody,
business,
because
right.
you can write. Well, I mean, especially if you're 1099. Like I try to tell people, you shouldn't always incorporate yourself because
Right.
then you start getting those write-offs.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know about that. It's like if you're W-2 employee and
Yes.
you're working for somebody, the write-offs you have are minimal.
Right.
But if you're a independent contractor,
Yes.
1099
Yes.
incorporated, Paul Incorporated,
Right.
your write-offs are huge.
Absolutely.
I could also make an argument that your home is your house office as well that you can write off.
That's true. I am aware of those write-offs, and I do use those. I have a good tax guy. But one last positive I want to say. You have as an Uber driver, a Lyft driver, you have the right to refuse service or end the ride if the passenger makes you feel uncomfortable. And believe me, there are times where that does happen. Not very often. For the most part, people are thankful you're picking them up, and they're pretty cool. But once in a while, you have to pull rank.
So you're able, if something's going wrong mid-drive,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say the person's absolute asshole,
Yes.
just belligerent, driving you crazy,
Mm-hmm.
you're allowed to stop.
You can pull over to the side of the road where it's safe, and ask them politely, I need to end this ride. I don't feel comfortable driving you anymore. And we have that right.
No matter, okay, let me play devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you do kick me out of your car
Mm-hmm.
and you put me somewhere and I
Mhm.
get jumped. Who's liable for that?
That's a good question. Maybe if you were nicer and cooler, your Uber driver or Lyft driver, you wouldn't be on the side of the road or asked to leave the car because you were such an asshole. There are some people in this world that feel like they're that entitled and they feel like they can say or do whatever they want. Look, but my feelings don't get hurt if some people say certain things, and any jokes are welcome, because I got a sense of humor, but there's a line that of respect. Be thankful that Uber driver, Lyft driver cared enough to pick you up, and then also they appreciate your business because that's how they make a living.
So you personally, do you want me in the back seat or the front seat?
Well, it depends how good looking you are. Just kidding.
Dude, this moneymaker, right. Everyone wants me in the front seat. But no, I don't. What's the etiquette? Front seat or back seat?
Well, back seat makes me feel more comfortable. But if they prefer, here's an example, they want to ride in the front seat. Why? Because they get car sick and they're more comfortable in the front versus the back. I'd rather you be in the front with me if you're like a person prone to getting car sick. It's easier for you. But preferably in the back. But if there's times when you have three, there's you and three other passengers, well, you have two in the back and one in the front. No problem. It's understandable. But yeah, etiquette, get in the back seat. It's probably safer for you, safer for the driver, and less distractions. I don't know what the person in the front seat's going to be moving around, doing whatever.
Because another thing that's always gone through my mind,
Yeah,
is like when there's a driver in the front and that person's in the back, you automatically know it's a ride share. Do you ever feel targeted by that look?
Say that question again. I need it. Okay.
So when you're driving around,
Yeah.
and you see there's a driver up front and then there's one person in the back seat.
Correct.
Immediately, that's a ride share.
Correct.
Have you ever felt targeted because you are a ride share by other drivers or other people who might be looking for trouble?
No, fortunately, I haven't been in that situation when I've been driving.
Do you know anyone who has?
Not personally, thank God. I'm glad that didn't happen. I've never had to deal with something like that.
Have you ever felt unsafe picking up a passenger?
There's been some situations where the people seem pretty sketchy, but that's depending on what area you're working in. Like a lot of times I'll work Newport Beach, Huntington Beach, Irvine, affluent areas. You usually don't have too many problems, but once in a while you get some characters.
What do you do when you pull up and you're like, I don't feel safe with this?
Yeah.
Do you just keep driving by?
No, I still try to make it work. I'm not really in fear of. I just want to let you know I'm a Catholic Christian boy. I go to church every Sunday. The man upstairs is looking out over me, and I trust in him. And I ask him, before my rides, hey, Lord, watch over my car, watch over my passengers. Let's have no tickets, no accidents, no nothing. And pretty much things go pretty smoothly. I haven't been in a lot of sketchy situations because I believe the guy upstairs is looking out for me and the passengers.
So have you ever led a Bible study while you're driving?
Funny that you say that. Not a Bible study, but I had preached to someone that needed to hear something, because they were going through a really bad day or something was going wrong. And I said, hey, I just want to let you know, God and Jesus love you. No matter what you're going through, you can always turn to God and Jesus.
I don't know if Jesus loves me that much because I'm a Jewish kid, but I, right. That brings up another topic. Yeah. Do you like the conversations you have with passengers?
Absolutely. I'd rather, the time goes by quicker, and it's nice to connect with people. And that was one of the positives. I don't know if I said it. You get to connect with people on a different level, and we're all human and we all have interaction, and we need, it's nice to get feedback, especially positive feedback. God knows there's enough negativity in the world, and we really don't need more negativity. We need to just lift each other up and bring up each other's spirits, because it's a tough world out there, and it's tough for people, and especially these times, we're going through some weird family rifts. Oh my God, there's just some crazy stuff going on right now around the world.
Do you ever eavesdrop into their conversations if they're on the cell phone?
I do. It's pretty interesting. It's like, yeah, man, their life's more messed up than mine. Right on. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Well, you ever hear any stock tips?
Absolutely, I have, and I've given away some good tips too. You might not agree, but I'll tell you what.
Oh wow! I mean, no, I'm just, because you just got my head spinning. Like,
okay, I just want to share with you, and I know your thoughts, because we talked about this before about Bitcoin. I told my family and friends about Bitcoin when it was $900, and of course they read the news and they looked at all. Oh, it's a scam! Don't get involved. You're going to lose all your money. No, I'm telling you guys, I got inside sources that know stuff. It's going to get to at least 10 grand by the end of the year. It got to 20 grand by the end of the year. So if they bought one share for $1,000, well, we don't have to say anything now. We know where Bitcoin is today. But I want to give one last hot tip, just because I care about people. XRP, that's the second one in line, that in the future, in about 5 years, will be worth a lot of money. Right now, it's only on $2.20, but XRP will make you money. And I told my friends about, and family and friends, and some took advantage and some didn't. But hey, wouldn't it be nice if you bought one share for $1,000 and you made $100,000? That would really help someone.
There you have it, folks. Financial consulting brought to you by your Uber driver.
Wait. Didn't you know my other AKA?
What is that?
The Doctor of Finance.
The Doctor of Finance.
Uh-huh. That's a whole nother segment for another time.
Oh, so do you do financial lectures with people?
I did in the past.
So what's your favorite type of drive? Is it a family? Is it husband, wife? Is it a single? Or is it everything?
It's fine. I'm fine as long as the people are cool and respectful, and it's nice. Conversation's nice. And it doesn't happen to have, I have to show respect too. Some people just want to get from point A to point B. They got a lot on their mind, or maybe they're busy with something on their phone. No problem. You can kind of gauge people if, they'll give you one-word answers. No, they're not wanting to talk, and I have to respect that. But it's nice when you can have conversation. That's part of that I did enjoy about driving for Uber and Lyft. Because people, if you really get to know them, they're pretty cool. And people are nice people. It's just a few bad apples. There are more good than evil in this world.
So the people listening, what would you want them to know about the importance of driver safety?
About driver safety? Please don't distract us. I had a guy, he had a vape, and he thought he was cool. And he vaped in my car, and the whole car filled up with smoke. I thought my car was on fire. And I'm like, and he's giggling in the back. And I'm like, dude, don't do that. I mean, that's not cool, because you had me thinking my car was on fire. But no, just be respectful. Be respectful of your drivers. They're working hard to make a living. God knows the driver's situation. He might be providing for his family. He might be struggling. Who knows what the driver's going through. And riders, what the driver's going through. And riders, we don't know what you're going through, so we're going to get you to your destination. Try hopefully safely if we're a competent driver.
Do you trust in the app protecting you if something goes wrong?
It's pretty good. The app is pretty good, I have to say. As far as GPS and destination, not always perfect, but pretty good. And then if we get in trouble, there is like a 911, or there's a button you push and it will notify Uber. If you had an accident or something. So the app is pretty good, in my experience.
So it notifies Uber, not authorities.
It will if you push certain buttons. It's been a while. be honest, that I even had to use that. But
Have you ever had to use it?
I have. I actually got rear-ended. I want to share this with you guys, but I'm not. I can't disclose.
Right. No, just keep it
financial
generic.
deals later.
No, keep it generic.
But I got passengers in the back, and we're waiting at a red light, and waiting for the light to turn green. And just as it turned green, I'm ready to accelerate, and bam, guy hits me from behind. Turns out the guy was under the influence of either, alcohol or marijuana, and basically we had to, pull out there, and my car was totaled, and I had, whiplash, and passengers got injured, and there's a whole nother story to all that. But at the end of the day is, as an Uber or Lyft driver, you risk your life out there. You never know. And I didn't deserve that. We didn't do anything wrong. We were just sitting there at a red light. So just know this. Your family members need to know when you go out and drive as an Uber or Lyft driver, there's a possibility of you could get in an accident and you could die, or could change your life. Oh, yeah.
Anything we do, there's a risk.
Absolutely. The more times you're on the road, Gersh, whether you're driving in general or Uber or Lyft driver or any kind of drive, there's a higher risk you can get in an accident or a ticket or anything.
Oh, yeah. It's all numbers. It's just
it's
a numbers game at that point,
exactly.
Right? I mean, and that's why you always, as a father, you worry all the time.
Of course.
As a husband, you worry all the time.
Yeah.
But then I drive like a jackass because which I should really be worried too. But it's funny as a human how much you worry about others that you love more than yourself.
Amen, and that's amen to that, brother. I want to high five you.
Yeah. But the thing is, and then you have people telling you you should love yourself just as much.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's very hard. Very hard.
Especially if you're hard on yourself.
Yeah. I think I'm very hard on myself. I try to be a perfectionist, and that really. It really affects me, but that's a whole nother show we could get into.
Being perfect in life, which we aren't.
So a lot of people are wondering, is the Uber app just a boss in disguise?
Is it a boss in disguise? That's an interesting question. Don't know quite sure how to answer that one. Is it a boss in disguise? I mean, you are doing what the app says. You turn it on and it's going to take you. That's the interesting thing. You never know where you're going to end up or where you're going to go as an Uber driver or Lyft driver. Well, actually, now you do. When you get the request, it does let you know if you're going 15 minutes away or 30 minutes away. So you got an idea. If you don't want to,
is that something new? Because I find it a lot harder to get cars to come and get me.
Probably because depending on what area you live in or how long of a drive it is for a drive. Like if I saw a ride from Newport Beach to LAX, I'm not taking it. And I have that right to refuse it, not take it, just let it, I push a little button. They don't like that, Uber and Lyft, if you decline rides. But it's like, am I really going to drive at 3:30 in the afternoon to go to LAX when I know it's going to be an hour and a half to 2 hours just to get back home because of the rush hour traffic the other way? And I don't make money on the way back unless I get another ride back, So
how is that balanced? Let's say you start here in Orange County.
Yes.
And for the listeners, just so you know, Orange County is in the middle of San Diego and LA.
Correct.
So let's say you take that ride down to San Diego.
Correct.
Does the app work with you at all to help you pick up rides to work your way back home?
Actually, it does. They do have a feature where you can get rides going in your direction. Doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes it will take you backwards to go forwards, when you request to go a certain way, and I've had that happen, or sideways. But it is kind of cool, but it doesn't guarantee it. You know what I'm saying? So, if you do get a ride to San Diego, let me put it this way. If you're doing electric, it does use up a lot of electricity. It's if you go freeways with electric cars. If you go,
because the electricity not only runs the car, it runs everything in the car.
Right.
The computer, the air conditioning,
correct.
Everything.
It goes quicker, but then again, it's better if you have an electric car because you get more bang for your buck versus driving gas. But yeah, if you're going to go to San Diego, you might make $40 for that ride, and then now you have to still come back, and that costs gas money to come back, and your time. Is it worth it? And depending on traffic.
Do you ever live in fear as an Uber driver that they're just going to deactivate you?
It does happen. I don't, but it does happen to certain drivers, depending on if someone says something about you that they didn't like you as a person and they called Uber and they want to, if you want to screw over your Uber driver, you go complain about them and they'll deactivate you. And I hate saying that and letting people have that knowledge, but it's truth. But it's so uncool. If the Uber driver does something totally wrong to you as a passenger, then you have all the rights to report them. But that's screwy. But we can report the driver, the rider as well. If they're out of line, and you should, as an Uber driver, a Lyft driver, if your passengers are way out of line and it's uncomfortable for you and it's, for future drivers, please tell, they won't link you up again with that rider. They'll be blackballed on your account.
Okay, so let's get into the rating system, because I feel as if that 5-star rating system can be used as a weapon.
It can. And I've had that happen to me, where someone rated me a 1 when I didn't deserve that. It is only because I didn't do what they wanted. If you want some...
Well, yeah, what do they want?
Well, imagine 4 very attractive ladies, and I'm not, they happen to be Asian, and they were intoxicated, but I couldn't even get out of the parking lot of the club, and I was there like 15 minutes, because one would get in the car, one would run back in the club, one would go back in the car, and then they started yelling and screaming and slamming my doors, and then these 2 girls were fighting, and I'm like, sorry girls, this ride is over. And maybe the only reason, because I'm a guy, I was like, hey, these girls are pretty cute, but at that point it's like, oh no, I don't care how cute you are. Where's the respect level? They were young, probably in their 20s, but at the end of the day is I had to end the ride. And the thing is we never got out of the parking lot. End of the day, I get a 1 star, and that screwed up my ratings, so my ratings went way down.
Walk me through how this works. I get in the app, I need a Lyft.
Yes, or Uber. Right?
No, well, I just need a ride.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a wrong choice of words. I need a ride.
Right.
What pops up on your phone?
Oh, so it will let us know. Our phone will beep on my side, and then it will show kind of where you're going and how far they are. And you only get not that much time to.
Does my rating pop up too?
No, I don't get to see that right away. No, not that I remember, because you're on the road, you got to be careful, right? So then I accept, and then I go pick you up.
So the rumor of if you don't have a 5-star rating, drivers will turn you down, is that bunk?
I don't know how much truth that is. I'll pick up pretty much most anyone. I don't look at your rating. I know you need to get to point A to point B, and look, I love all God's people. All right, it's like I'm going to pick you up. Because there's unfortunate circumstances in people's life why they got that rating. Maybe a person got a bad rating because of their stupid friend was belligerent to the Uber driver, but the guy that, you know what I'm saying? It's the stupid friend that was belligerent to the Uber driver, but it was on your app. You know what I'm saying? So it's unfair to really judge everybody on their rating. But then again, if an Uber driver has a really low rating, I have to think that he's not a very friendly person, or they're not really giving that attention to the client that they need.
So if you have a 4-star rating, will you be fired by the app as a driver?
I think I can't remember if it's 4.5 or 4. Yeah, if you have too low of a rating, you're not going to be driving for Uber or Lyft, But I think you have to have 4.6 and above, I think is the actual rating system. Look, it's best that everyone gives their Uber driver a 5-star, and every Uber driver gives their passengers a 5-star. But if one's out of line, the driver or the rider, rate them less, because if they're not cool, I don't know.
So it's very important for those of us who use that app to rate every one of our drivers.
Absolutely. Because it helps them, and it also helps you.
So do you get bonuses for better reviews?
Not, I wish. I don't see that. Just, you're a 5-star, I got 4,000, I have over 5,000 rides, but I have 4,000 5-stars. That kind of says something. But then again, most people give you a 5-star if you just treat them right, get them their destination safely,
Have you ever gotten a bad review because you drove too slow?
I got a bad review for driving too fast. That has happened to me before. And I'm like,
they mustn't have been from California.
Right. They're not from California. No, what happened, I was driving, and there was a car, and he swerved, and it would have hit me, so I had to swerve, but the person in the back didn't see that. You know what I'm saying? So I had to swerve not to get hit by that car because he swerved in my lane. And they thought I was so they rated me bad, or they said something to the company, which is totally unfair. Because, like, I just saved our lives from an accident. But they didn't see because they weren't looking forward. They were in the back looking at their phone or reading something. They just thought I was a unsafe driver.
What's your favorite pickup, a hotel or a restaurant?
Hotels are cool. Yeah. Restaurants, they might bring out food, and then they bring it in the car, and then it stinks up the car. I actually had a lady and her kids get in the car. I don't know what they were thinking. They had ranch, and it was open, and it fell and hit the ground on my car. I'm like, oh, great, and then ranch went everywhere. So I had to clean that up. And I dropped them off at home, and I said, hey, can I use your hose and do all this stuff. The only cool thing is she respected my time, and I didn't charge them a fee for damaging my car with ranch in it. I cleaned it up good. They gave me the extra $20, so it kind of made it worth my time.
As long as you cleaned it up in 10 minutes. If you worked an hour and a half, right. you think $20 is worth it?
No, I used their hose and I had those plastic mats. Oh, by the way, Uber drivers, get the plastic mats. Cover your seats because you never know what's on people's behinds, or to protect your car.
Yeah, get the leather, or at least have leather interior, right? Not leather cloth interior.
Right. Or if you get even beach towels that look cool, you can lay them in the back, as long as to protect your seats.
How about water for all your drivers?
I think that's so cool of Uber drivers and Lyft drivers that do that, and to me, it's part of like, hey, you give good service, a little half bottle of water, not the full one, because people won't drink half of it anyway. Just get the small half bottle one, because people just need to quench their thirst sometimes, But it's nice that people recognize that and they tip you for the extra added service. You might provide gum or mints or something like that. That'd be nice too.
Why don't riders tip? Is it ignorance, entitlement, or they're just clueless?
Probably all of that. No, I think it's because Uber and Lyft have raised the rates, and before they were used to different rates that were more comparable, but it's really expensive to take rides nowadays, and they figure. I think people have the misconception that a lot of that ride goes to the driver when it doesn't. I want to give you a quick example, Gersh. $25 ride, okay, from Newport Beach to, let's say, Anaheim. It's going to be $25. So it's a $25 ride. Did you know that the Uber or Lyft driver only gets $7 or $8 from that ride out of $25, and the rest goes to Uber or Lyft?
And me being a business guy, what I hear is opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't there another platform that's being started where drivers get paid better? Now, do Lyft and Uber have the same rates now? Because they were in competition.
They're close.
Now it seems kind of like a monopoly, like the two of them work together.
They're pretty close. There's different times Lyft's better than Uber. There's times Uber's better than Lyft for for drivers to make more money.
How about me as someone who's using rideshare? Is there a reason I should use Lyft over Uber at certain points?
My best advice to you as an Uber driver and as a guy that cares about you, do both apps. Have a Lyft app and an Uber app, and then check the rates against each other and see which one's better for you. Basically, you just want to get to point A to point B. It doesn't matter if it's Uber or Lyft. And most of the drivers know what they're doing and know where they're going. But to save money, it makes sense, right? Why would you pay more when you can pay less?
What about that monthly surcharge that Uber is offering people, like X amount a month, and you get something?
Yeah, I don't understand that. I haven't been following that recently, to be honest. But you might know more than me about that.
No, I don't. I was hoping you would answer that for me. Because I don't drive for Uber or Lyft.
Right.
I use them quite often.
Yeah.
I love them. I love that service that they offer. It's really good.
It is. It is a good service.
Now, are there any truths to the rumors that Uber drivers avoid neighborhoods because of it's too urban or anything?
I will not drive in Compton, obvious reasons. And I try to stay away from Santa Ana. Don't get me wrong. I grew up in Santa Ana. I understand Santa Ana very well. I went to St. Barbara's grade school and Modern Day High School. And I'm not entitled, by the way. I'm just a kid that, had an okay education. But the end of the day is, hey, I'm driving Uber and Lyft, so how good am I, right? No, I'm joking, right? No job is beneath anyone. I don't care if you mow lawns, pull weeds. By the way, I've done all those things, drive limos,
Right.
bartend, corporate world. No job is beneath any of us. What matters if you like what you do and you're good at what you do and, you care to make a difference.
Do you ever feel like you have to fake a smile just to stay employed?
Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes. But I'm more a genuine person. I'm straight up kind of guy. I'll tell you straight. That's the problem I think I have, Gersh, is people can't handle the truth, and I'm straight up give you the facts. Do you want me to tell you the lie or tell you the truth? You know what I'm saying? And some people seem to love to hear the lie versus the truth.
Well, if you tell people the truth, you're labeled, you're canceled,
Right.
or you're being called mean. Take
Yes.
your pick, or all the above.
Correct.
Right? If you tell the truth. But the thing is, the reason why I asked that question is because a lot of my research I've done in my profession,
Yes.
we talk about surface acting, where you have to fake the smile.
Oh, yeah.
And that takes so much fucking energy out of you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Where if you're just honest,
Yeah.
do you ever have that uncomfortable situation where you say something honestly and the person just shuts up and it becomes an awkward ride the rest of the way?
It has happened. And maybe I crossed the line by a certain question I said, and I didn't mean to.
Asking if I love Jesus?
Yeah, and that could offend some people,
Yeah.
And it's only because I care about them. It's not like it's nothing malicious.
Talking about how the politics in California are so fucked up.
Yeah, how much we love Trump. There's other people who go, oh my God,
I don't know,
he said Trump. Oh, I don't like him. He's an asshole.
And it's so weird because I was at my one of my businesses I owned, I always flew an American flag out front.
God bless
Right?
you. God
Right?
bless America.
Right.
Amen.
But then after Trump got elected, the American flag all of a sudden meant that I was a Trump supporter. But when Obama was in office, George Bush was in
Right,
office, guess
right.
what? I still flew the American flag.
Because you're American.
But all of a sudden, because I'm flying an American flag, I'm labeled. And even when Biden was president, guess what?
Yeah.
I flew that American flag.
Right.
But that's the problem, is you get labeled all the time,
Right.
in my opinion. So how do you feel when someone judges you the second they see you?
That's just human nature. They judge you. Everyone judges everyone. They judge you on your bald head, Gersh, and I know you're not a skinhead. It's like, I know you're a good guy. But no.
Well, you are a religious guy, and my argument is that, God only made an X amount of people that would look good with no hair, and I just happen to be one of them.
I'm getting there, man. I'm getting there.
Yeah, you are.
Straight backwards head.
Well, that's a good thing you're an Uber driver, because then you just don't open your sunroof. Okay, another question.
Yeah.
As an Uber driver, do you like to have the windows open, or do you want to keep them closed?
Well, I have air conditioning in my car, so I leave them up, and that's for my comfort and their comfort, But I know there's people that do prefer, in the back, they want to have it halfway down or down. And the problem is, that shock wave you get sometimes. Yeah. That's annoying for both of us. So generally up most of the time, but if they don't feel good or their car's sick or whatever, have the window down by all means. I'm here to serve them.
What has driving rideshare taught you about humanity?
People are good. Believe it or not, there are good people out there. It's just a lot of people been through a lot of different stuff, a lot of shit in this world, whether it's from their family members or from work, people always look at the negatives and, of people. Look at the positive, lift them up, bring out the good in people, because God knows we have enough negativity going on.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, and you said earlier in the conversation, there are a lot of things you overhear that make you realize, holy shit, my life's not that bad.
Right? Compared to what? Yeah.
And the thing is that what people don't understand is that everyone has a story.
Absolutely.
And you don't know their story, but we're quick to judge.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to share my story with you, and this is for not only for you or my family and friends or potential Uber and Lyft drivers, is what it's really like out there. I don't think I didn't even go over the cons of being an Uber driver.
You named a few. You talked about the vomiting,
yeah,
kicking people out of the car.
Right.
Airports are a nightmare.
Right.
Traffic's a nightmare. I think we got most of the cons. Is there a
Okay.
con that you really want to get out there that you didn't cover?
Well, you got the chance of being sexually assaulted or raped. I haven't. Chance of being robbed. Chance of getting beat up because the other guy is having a bad day. You know, there's a lot. It doesn't, believe me, the percentages are very small.
But that's, again, that comes down to, do you believe that app is protecting you?
Well, when it comes to against humans, no. But they try by the rating system. You know, if someone has a really bad rating, and they probably don't even get to use Uber or Lyft anymore.
I could be a 5-star Uber rider,
Yes,
but still be a mass murderer.
very true. But no one would know because you hit it well. Hey, my job is not to question what you do for a living. My job is to get you to your destination safely. And God knows I'm not on your list.
What was the one ride that changed your whole outlook for this job?
Oh man, there's been a lot of rides, you know. The neat people in this world, the positivity in the world, even the negative people that, hey, they're just going through a bad day and it's not personal on me, you know. I think what impacted me is when I got in an accident, realizing how life is fragile and you could be here today, gone tomorrow. And it wasn't even my fault. And I did everything right. And I still, you know, you can do everything right in life and not work out, you know.
If there's 3 things you would fix about this industry, what would they be?
Riders get paid more. I'm sorry. Drivers make more money. Riders pay less. And that everybody treats everybody else with more kindness, because God knows we need more kindness in this world.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, right? The whole kindness thing. And I honestly, when I moved out here to California, wow, almost 30 years ago, California was a different beast than it is now.
Yes.
When you go anywhere else in the country,
Yeah.
you truly see humility. You see people being humble.
Correct.
You actually see people coming up to you asking, how you doing? Because they actually care about how you're doing.
Yeah.
During your rides out here, do you see a lot of fakeness when it comes to that stuff?
I see people being distracted. A lot of times it's younger kids, they're on their phone, you know, and they're not even interacting with you. They might get in my car and not even say a word to me, and they're on the phone with their friend talking. You know what I'm saying? So it's this, I think people got a lot on their mind and they're distracted and understood. There's a lot going on.
Okay, I want to talk about safety
Sure.
really quick. My daughter,
Yeah.
or anyone's child,
Yes.
calls for an Uber.
Correct.
Walk through the steps they need to go through to make sure they're getting into a safe ride.
Well, first of all, I believe if you're underage, you're not allowed to ride in an Uber or Lyft. You have to have a family member, you know, someone 18 or older. So we're not supposed to be picking up minors. Unless there's some kind of minor consent form that they've got through Uber or Lyft that says, yeah, they can drive but I don't think there is a form like that.
But my kids get picked up all the time. I mean, they do. I mean, high school kids get picked up all the time.
And because the rider or driver, probably not questioning their age, but you're trying to make money and you're just going to take a blind eye and you're just trying to get them from point A to point B. But
you hear about all these horror stories. So when the car pulls up,
yeah,
should they match the license plate?
That would be smart. Yes, I think you should, to protect yourself. You know, most of the time, people that pull up are your Uber or Lyft driver. You know, but when at it, it's so smart, especially for kids or even adults. Take a look at the license plate and it matches up with then you're good.
Then does the app automatically tell people where you are, or should you start sharing your location immediately?
Yeah. The app is pretty accurate. If you're at your house and you have an address, it's going to take you right to that address. But if you're in the back, you know, if you live in an apartment complex and you live in the middle, there's no way we can get to you. You got to come to us and make it easier for us to where you think we might be, you know.
And do you think that mostly women and kids should share their ride with somebody as soon as they get in?
No, I don't like rideshare. Only the people that normally owed it. I'm owed it, ordered it. I don't like the additional stranger that comes into the car. You know what I'm saying?
And I was trying to get at it was do they share where the car is with somebody else? Would you recommend that?
Oh, as far
like
as
when my daughter gets into an Uber,
yes,
she automatically shares with my wife or I that ride so we can follow them on a map.
Oh, that's great. I think that's awesome because it's your daughter, man, and you never know who they're getting in with which Uber, Lyft driver, and that's smart. I think that's smart to track your daughter.
Are there any other tips like that to keep people safe? Because not all drivers are like you, Paul.
Right.
There's some, just like there's crazy passengers.
Yeah.
There's crazy drivers.
Oh yeah, and drivers.
So is there something I'm missing? What are other little tricks and tips we can give people to be safe in their Uber?
Oh, to tell their driver, yeah. Well, you can communicate to your driver if they speak English, or you hope. Sometimes they don't. They might speak a different language, and it's hard to understand each other, and that's frustrating sometimes. But I think you got to kind of trust the system that the Uber driver kind of knows what they're doing. You hope they have experience. Actually, when you do get the request, you can, I think, on your side see what kind of it tells you how many stars they got. You could actually decline that ride if you don't like how many.
Is there not a charge for that? Because I thought if you decline the ride, there's a charge.
I think you have up to like 30 seconds to a minute or something, and then you could still decline it. But then if so, I think it's like $5 if you decline, But hey, it's up to you, your safety, right? But I don't think you have to worry. Really, very seldom you're going to have that problem. But don't get me wrong, there are some Uber drivers and Lyft drivers that do not know how to drive. They go too slow, or they go too fast, or they don't know how to navigate around cars.
I had one of those, and
wow.
immediately, because you were taking me from my house to John Wayne Airport,
Mm-hmm.
immediately when I got to the airport, I was like, this lady should not even be on the road.
I agree. There are people like that, and it sucks.
And how quick does Uber react to a feedback like that?
Well, if you actually get in contact with Uber and complain, they could possibly deactivate that person. And they're going to have to fight their case with Uber or Lyft to get back reactivated.
So give me the ins and outs of Uber Eats. Did you ever get involved in that?
I never did Uber Eats. One of my family members did do Uber Eats, and they actually were doing that for quite a while. And they realized they were not making very much money, and they're spending their time and gas, whatever. The only thing that was cool was local. You're not driving far, it's local in the area. The problem is you don't make as much money. And myself and my other family member told my family member, hey, listen, why don't you start doing Uber or Lyft? You'll make more money. And as soon as they switched over, they were very happy. Don't get me wrong, there are some people that do make good money with Uber Eats, but not in the family members I know. They went with Uber and Lyft instead.
What's one truth that every rider and driver needs to know about rideshare?
One truth. There's better ways to make money than driving for Uber and Lyft. But if you don't have that better way to make money, then do Uber and Lyft because you can make your own hours,
It's a great way to fill in gaps, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. As a part-time gig, I think Uber and Lyft is an awesome part-time gig for certain people, depending on their situation. Full-time, man, it's rough.
Do you have to be 25 to be an Uber driver?
I thought it was 21 or older. Might even be 18. I think Uber Eats is 18 and above, but I think it's 21 and above to be an Uber driver. I think.
What's the correct tip that people should leave? Is it a percentage or is it flat?
$1,000 per ride.
Yeah, I wish.
Right. No, we're working hard out there, and you want to show your appreciation. And here's the thing I want to explain too: is the driver presentable? Does the car look nice? Is it clean on the inside? Are they nice to you? Did they open your car door for you? Sometimes I used to do that, But a lot of times people right there, they open the door before I can get to it. But I'll go open the car door. There's a lot of ways. But what's a fair tip? anything, but make sure it's more than $1, $3, $5 is really, really nice. But hey, everyone's situation is different, I have respect for the lady that needs to go to work and she's struggling just to make a living. If she, and I get it. And she might not even like her job, where she's going, but she might tip me $1. Hey, that's better than zero, Something's better than nothing, but $3 to $5 on average should be good.
I've heard stories of people talking about wanting to move where they live because they want to move to areas where there are not a lot of Uber drivers.
Oh, interesting.
Example is Big Bear Lake.
Oh, okay.
Does that seem like a feasible model?
For an Uber or a Lyft driver? I don't think it makes sense at all. You going up and down that hill, the wear and tear, your brakes.
No, just you would drive people around locally around Big Bear.
Oh, wow. If it was just local, you didn't have to go all the way down the hill. I mean, yeah, you can make it work. But you don't want to go down that hill and go up that hill, the dangers of it, especially if it's ice and snow on the road. That's one of the other factors as an Uber and Lyft driver. When it's raining out there, please take care of your Uber and Lyft drivers. They're going out in the rain to pick you up to get you to your destination. Isn't that worth it?
And the freeways out here become ice skating rinks because there's like 2 inches of oil that are sitting on top of it because we don't get rain at all.
Isn't that true?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I want to open up the floor to you. What else do you really want us to know?
Let me check something. I got to check my notes. All I want to say is that, Uber and Lyft are really cool platforms, okay? Not only for the people that drive for them, but also the people that need a ride, the riders. We're in this together, okay, as a team, You need to get to your place. I need to make money. Why don't we make an enjoyable experience for each? If your Uber driver is cool and he takes care of, keeps his car clean, and he's doing a good job by you, reward him. But if their car stinks and it smells like, whatever, and that's another thing I didn't tell people. Sometimes people smell and you're an Uber driver, or it's either body odor or really bad breath.
Or horrible perfume.
Or their perfume is really bad. Well, that's a factor. And you, as an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, make sure you have windows that can roll down because...
Does that go into the rating system? That 5-star weapon we were talking about?
I try not to do that against people. If they're cool and they're respectful, I still give them a 5-star. But it sucks that you have to deal with that. But it is truth. It is a fact that does happen.
The one question I didn't ask is, what happens to me if I have a 3.2 rating? Do I get kicked off the app?
Oh, yeah.
The platform?
I think it's below if you're in the 4s, I don't think you can be an Uber. You can't be a rider or a driver if you're in the 4s, I believe. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, if you're a shitty human being, you're not going to give the rides, and if you're a horrible Uber driver, whether you drive bad or you're not good with people, you don't look. Every job isn't for every person, that you're in. Some people shouldn't be Uber drivers just for their personality, or shouldn't be Uber drivers just because of the way they drive, because they're not safe. They don't care about their passengers. They're just in it for the money only, and they don't care about their passengers. Well, that's not cool. You should care about your passenger, and you should care about yourself.
Is there anything else you want anyone else to know?
Don't be an Uber or Lyft driver. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I'm just kidding. All I wish is that fairness, in the business. One of the reasons, Gersh, I came on. By the way, I love what you guys are doing here, Pacific Land Studios, Rebuy Studios. I love what this is all about. I've had nothing but positive energy, positive vibes, and I know my niece is part of that, and I'm glad she's part of this. And I thank you guys for
Rachel Mueller, the Girl IQ. Yes, she's our social media star.
I really respect her, love her a lot, and I'm thankful for the opportunity you guys gave her. And it's so important, to acknowledge that we are not all that. Your ego is not your amigo. Be kind to others, whether it's in business, life, or work. I wanted to share this so that Uber drivers kind of know the real facts. I don't know if they know all the people that want to be an Uber or Lyft driver. This is kind of looking out for them, but also I want Uber and Lyft to know, do you really got our backs? It sure doesn't seem like it. You know what I mean? The people are there working hard. Pay a little better. Give us more incentives to want to be out there.
I think the incentives, instead of the better pay, the incentives might be better.
Yeah.
Like, and also I think it would be great if the government gave you all incentives of some sort.
Absolutely. That would be nice. You know, think about it. We're getting people to their destinations, you know, and safely, or we try to. Yeah.
Well, even during COVID, you guys were frontline workers.
And some of us were and some of us weren't, because we were in fear of our lives because of the whole COVID bullshit.
That's another.
That's a whole other.
That's a whole other episode. Uber during COVID. Well, Paul, it's been wonderful talking to you. It's been absolutely amazing. You're allowed. Obviously, you know where we are. We have the open door policy. You can come on whenever. And you know, for all the listeners out there, basically, just be a decent human being. Respect everyone. Mm-hmm. Remember the golden rule. Yeah. You know, do unto others as you want others to do unto you.
Absolutely.
How's that for a religious little piece for you?
Absolutely.
From the Jewish guy sitting on this side of the table. If you have any questions about Uber at all, just hit us up on the socials, pacific.lens.studios on all your social platforms. We will be more than happy to answer them. We can get Paul to answer them. Is there anything you want to say in closing?
No, I just want to thank you, Gersh and my niece, for allowing me to come and share on this platform. You know, I have a lot of really good knowledge and information about a lot of different things. We could do another podcast on other things. It's just to help people, get them aware. We all are going through some difficult, tough times. All of us with our family. That's a whole nother segment, family rifts. Man, I could tell you some stuff. But at the end of the day is really understand our goal is love. Show love, kindness, respect to every individual you can. And nothing but good things will come back. Always.
And with that, I can't say it any better. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, Gersh.